Hello friends, my name is Arwen. Welcome to online programming from Durham County Library. Now, it's springtime already, isn't it? There are little flowers peeking out, buds on the trees, and what comes after spring? Summer. Now, some of you might really like summer, but I don't because I always get really sunburned no matter how hard I try not to, using sunscreen and hats and everything like that. So I spend a lot of time watching the weather report, trying to only go outside when it's cloudy or rainy. And so since I've been watching the weather report and looking for the days where it has the little cloud icon, made me think maybe we should do a project about clouds. That'd be a lot of fun. I mean, they're there all the time. You can see them. Let's do it. So first, let's talk about clouds. There are four main different types of clouds. Now, there are many sub categories of clouds, which means, say you have this cloud, maybe there are two different types of this cloud, and maybe one of those types has 5 different types. So you could really go down a rabbit hole that way, and I invite you to if you decide to do that. Maybe you could get a book from the library. But today, since we only have a certain amount of time, and because I don't think it'd be very interesting to go through all the different types of clouds, we're going to stick with these 4. Now let's look at what do we have here. So first we have cumulus clouds. Cumulus clouds are the ones you're going to see on sunny days. The ones that look like cotton balls up in the sky. And can you guess that these are all cotton balls? They are. Well, this one's not, but that's just wool. That's from a gray sheep. So cumulus clouds are the ones that we see, when you think of a cloud, that's what you're going to think of. And then we have stratus clouds. And stratus clouds are really great. They're my favorites because these are the ones that are really low to the earth. And when they're really low, that's what fog is. So when you're walking through fog, you're really walking through a stratus cloud. You could say, I'm sorry, my head is in the clouds right now. Then we have cirrus clouds. And these clouds, you may not realize it looking at them, are really high up in the sky. And the reason they have this really distinct shape is because clouds are all made with water molecules, and these are made with ice. And so it makes them stretch out really funny. Then we have nimbus clouds. Now, sometimes people say that nimbus clouds aren't actually one of the major types of clouds because a nimbus cloud is simply a cloud out of which precipitation is falling. Precipitation, as you may or may not know, depending on how far you've gotten in science class at school, is rain or snow or sleet or any other kind of water in any form that's coming out of a cloud. So out of the sky, but it's out of a cloud. And so the nimbus cloud, that's why it's so dark, it's so full of this water. But a nimbus cloud can also be a cumulus cloud. It could also be a stratus cloud if these clouds are about to precipitate. Is it the cloud that precipitates? I don't know. So if it's about to rain or snow or sleet, and these are the clouds in the sky, they're also nimbus clouds. So you have stratonimbus clouds, you have nimbocumulus clouds, and that gets into all the subcategories that I mentioned earlier. So what kind of activity can we do now that we're talking about clouds? We're going to go up and be in the cloud. No, we're not. We are not actually going to do anything with clouds that are up in the sky, but we are going to, drumroll please, make our own clouds in a jar, one cloud. So first, what you need is the jar, because you can't make a cloud in a jar without a jar. Next, you need some warm water. Now, I boiled this water before I put it into my thermos, so it's really hot, but you can just use warm water from your tap if you don't feel like boiling it and then putting it in a thermos. So the next part of our experiment is something that we need to talk about. There is a caveat, and caveat means a warning. And the reason that I used the word caveat is so we could say warning multiple times, and so maybe you could remember because we used a special word. The warning, the caveat, is that we are going to be using matches. And as you know, matches make fire, and fire burns things. your fingers, it could burn your carpet, it could burn your table. What I'm saying is, maybe, actually no, definitely, if you want to do this experiment at home, ask your grown-up to help you with the matches because you don't want to burn your fingers or anything else. So remember, we're getting to the match part. Ask a grown-up to help you, please. Nope, I'm going to say definitely ask a grown-up to help you. I'm not even going to say please. You need to do it. Okay, so as I've been harping on, we're going to use a match. And I have two different books of matches here because my matches are all really old ones from restaurants, and so sometimes they don't work, so I backed them up. Okay, so you also want to get your lid ready before you do the match part. What we're going to do is we're going to light a match, and we want the smoke to get into the jar, and then we're going to drop the match in. And then we put the lid on, and then we're going to put ice on top of the lid. Okay, so while our cloud is forming, let's talk about how it's forming and what's going on inside of this jar. So we have the hot water, and hot water, as you may or may not know, creates water vapor. Sometimes lots that you can see, like if the water's boiling, you know the bubbles, and then you can see the steam rising. That steam is water vapor. Or maybe you've looked out at a lake on a cold day, and you've seen that it looks really foggy on top. That's water vapor coming up from the warmer water into the colder air. So our warm water is creating water vapor. Steam. Let's just call it vapor. It's vaporizing. So the next part, and this is the part that makes clouds, is the ice that we're using. Now, what is happening on the bottom of this lid is the same thing that happens on a cold glass of whatever you're drinking, maybe water, on a hot, hot day. On a hot day, there's going to be water vapor in the air, humidity, which we have a lot of down here, and the water vapor condenses. That means it comes back together and it reforms into water droplets on your glass because the heat and the cold together make the vapor condense. And so what we're doing is our vapor and, oh, I forgot a very important part, the match. What are we doing with the match? The smoke that we put in there is particles. We're making smoke particles, and that's my assistant Winifred in the background, very bored with science because she is a dog and has a brain the size of a walnut. Probably not, but that's what I say to her. So back to our smoke. Our smoke has little particles, and the water droplets that are being formed on the top here on our lid, they attach to the particles from the smoke, and that is what creates the clouds. So it's these little water particles that are all formed together in the air. And it looks like we might have a pretty good cloud going, so we can see it better, I got this black paper. Let's put it in front of our cloud and then lift, carefully lift. And there is our cloud escaping from the jar. Pretty cool, huh? Yeah. So we've made a cloud in a jar, and then we let it escape because clouds don't belong in jars. We don't collect clouds the way we collect other things we put in jars. And you could try. So, that is how clouds are formed. But wait, you say. Clouds are not formed in jars. The clouds in the sky. People aren't up there making jars full of clouds and releasing them. So how do clouds in the sky get formed? Let me tell you. We have water on the earth. As you know, there are lakes, there are streams. I'm sure many of you have seen Jordan Lake. It's very, very big. And the sun warms up that water. Maybe not as hot as the water in our jar, but it warms it up. And then that creates water vapor. And so the water vapor rises up off of the water, the bodies of water on the earth, and goes up into the atmosphere. The atmosphere, which you may or may not know, is a lot colder than down here on earth. And so once the vapor gets into the atmosphere, condenses, and there are particles in the atmosphere of all sorts of different things. I'm pretty sure they're not harmful. Don't have to worry about that. And so our water vapor, our condensed water droplets, grab onto the particles in the atmosphere and, dun-da-da-da, create clouds. And so now, the cirrus clouds we talked about earlier that are high up in the sky and are like this, instead of water droplets, that vapor has gotten high enough that it freezes and it's ice droplets. Ah, clouds. Very exciting. So now when you're outside, look up at the sky and see if you can tell what some of the different clouds are. Remember, the cirrus clouds look like you stretched out cotton balls, and the cumulus clouds are all puffy, and the stratus clouds are the ones that cover the whole sky, and if they're really low to the earth, they're the fog. And if you see a nimbus cloud that's really, really dark, you might want to bring an umbrella when you go outside, or at least go find some shelter under an awning or a tree. All right, so we've learned about clouds. I hope you enjoyed that. I certainly did. And have a wonderful, wonderful day or night or evening or whenever you're watching this. I can't wait to see you again.